Today on Inside the Issues, I speak with Jorge Heine on fixing Haiti. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Issues, a CIGI online podcast. I'm David Welch, the CIGI Chair of Global Security at the Balsillie School of International Affairs and Professor of Political Science at the University of Waterloo. And every week I speak to a noted expert on some aspect of global governance here from the studios at the Center for International Governance Innovation in Waterloo, Ontario. And this week, I'm pleased to welcome back to the series Ambassador Jorge Heine, who's the CIGI Chair of Global Governance at the Balsillie School of International Affairs, as well as Distinguished Fellow here at CIGI. And Jorge, we're here to celebrate and talk about the publication of your latest book, Fixing Haiti, MINUSTA and Beyond, published by the United Nations University Press in this year, 2011, and co-edited with the Balsillie School's Andrew Thompson. So congratulations, and let me begin by asking you to speak a little bit about the background to the book. What prompted the project, and how did you conceive it, and how did you decide who would participate in it?
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. The book was released in August, and there's been really tremendous interest in it, so I really welcome this opportunity. On terms of the background of the book, I would say there's one which is the more recent one, and then there's sort of deep background. The most recent one is a conference we put together here at CIGI in September 2008 with leading experts from Haiti itself, from Latin America, from Canada, and from the United States. And our idea, we've had this long-standing interest here at CIGI in fragile states. Obviously, Canada has a very strong interest in Haiti. Afghanistan and Haiti are the two leading countries in terms of interest of Canadian foreign policy in the global south. So there were participants from the Canadian Foreign Ministry as well, and from various other bodies based in Ottawa. And we were lucky enough to assemble a very interesting, fascinating group of people. The agenda that we set ourselves was to examine, on the one hand, the challenges faced by Haiti itself in its domestic politics, economics, and social issues, but also look at the larger picture in terms of what the international community, the role the international community has played in Haiti. In terms of the sort of deeper background, and at the risk of dwelling a bit on my sort of personal biography, some 25 years ago, I led a Caribbean Studies Center in Puerto Rico at Inter-American University. And we had a number of significant conferences on Caribbean international relations, on what happened in Grenada, on the Caribbean Basin Initiative. And one of the things that I had in mind, because this is a country I've been associated now for some 30 years, to do one on the challenges that Haiti was facing then, which were somewhat different from the one it is facing now. In any event, I moved on to other things. And so this was something that I had pending on my agenda, sort of a book that I owed to myself. And I was lucky enough to arrive here in CIGI a few years ago, and to realize that there was such a strong interest here in Canada and in CIGI in this project. So we were lucky enough to get a very good group of people. And incidentally, it seems to me this speaks to the issue of edited volumes in academia and elsewhere. Edited volumes evoke mixed reactions, and some people say, well, it's not like a full monograph. My own view is that there are certain issues in which it is very difficult for a single person to assemble all the expertise that is needed. And if you're able to put together a team like we did for this, multidisciplinary, multinational, from very different backgrounds, people from the academic world, people from the world of government, you are able to come up with something in which between two covers you can have insights that one single scholar, however capable he or she may be, will never be able to produce. And I think this book is an example of that. Again, it's very interesting on the background of the book itself. When I originally contacted United Nations University Press, this is my third book with them, they were somewhat skeptical. They said, single country study, a poor country in the Caribbean, how much interest will there be? My two previous books with them, one of them called Which Way Latin America, Hemispheric Politics Meets Globalization. Is on a whole region and it's a broader international setting. And the other is, as you know, we did something on this here as well, The Dark Side of Globalization.
Right.
Again, it's about as broad as it can get.
Absolutely.
So this is a single country study. And they said, well, how much interest will there be? Well, I will say this. I think this is my 12th book. I've already had 3 launches, 2 of them in Puerto Rico, 1 of them in Miami. This month there are 3 more to go, 1 in Washington, 1 in Ottawa, 1 in Montreal. So there's been tremendous interest in the book. And it seems to me that it goes to show that, I am an international relations specialist. I have a chair in global governance. But in the end, these very broad international relations issues have to be boiled down and they materialize in a given place, in a given country. And the fascinating thing about Haiti, country with a very rich history, with a lot of very talented individuals, professionals, politicians, is that it seems to me, and this was what attracted me to the project in the first place, this is a country in which you see so many global, regional, and foreign policy issues converge in one country. This is the United Nations mission, MINUSTA, but it's also the first UN peacekeeping operation with the majority of Latin American troops. So it has a strong regional dimension.
And sometimes there's a great payoff to paying close attention to the details of
That's right.
a particular place. So,
and for Canada, it is a very important foreign policy priority. So here you have this small country in the Caribbean, all these things coming together.
Well, fascinating. Well, we'll continue with that when we come back. You're watching or listening to Inside the Issues, a CIGI online podcast. Look for us at cgonline.org, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Welcome back. So let's talk a bit about the title. The major title and the minor title are both interesting to me. Now, the major title is Fixing Haiti, which of course implies that there's something broken, and probably you wouldn't get a lot of debate on that. But what is the scope of the agreement on the thing that is broken in Haiti and the prospects of actually fixing it?
Sure, of course. Yes, the original title of the conference was something along the lines, Haiti's Challenges and the International Community, which is not the best title for a book.
Right.
So we ended up settling on Fixing Haiti, which is something that I must confess has not been totally uncontroversial. A number of people have had difficulty with it, but it is of course the standard vocabulary, which in political science we refer to the need to address problems in fragile and in failed states. So that is the reason for it. The standard phrase about Haiti, of course, is that it is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And the difficulties, of course, of Haiti were magnified after the earthquake on 12 January 2010. Which is, according to some estimates, probably the most devastating catastrophe to occur in the Western Hemisphere in many, many years. So we have a number of challenges that Haiti faces. One of them, in many ways the most immediate one, is a question of reconstruction. Just to get rid of the debris in itself, forget building other things, getting rid of the debris is a major question. The latest figures I saw, only 20% of it has been removed. Now progress is being made. And in terms of the people in the population camps, the displaced persons after the earthquake, at some point there were a little over 1 million. Nowadays that figure has been reduced to some 600,000. So there is progress is being made, but a lot remains to be done. Now, beyond the most immediate task of reconstruction, the real question, of course, is how to kickstart development in Haiti after that. And here it seems to me it's very interesting, and we are lucky enough to have the foreword of the book by Paul Collier, who is a leading development economist, used to be with the World Bank, is now at Oxford University, and he prepared the report for the UN Secretary General, for Mr. Ban Ki-moon, on how to move forward on that task. And what he has suggested is a Marshall Plan of sorts to really get the country going. Again, this is something that has generated some controversy. Some people do not like the idea of a Marshall Plan, of saying sort of is throwing good money after bad, as it were. But it seems to me what is interesting is that the reaction of the international community, and we'll get to that later, of course, was extremely encouraging after the earthquake. And in various conferences, some $10 billion were committed to Haiti's reconstruction task. Of that, only a very small amount has already been spent, but the money is there. And one reason it is there is because Paul Collier had put a plan on the table, decentralizing the country, moving. When some people refer to Haiti today as the Republic of Port-au-Prince, because it is such a highly centralized country. Getting back on something that was happening in the 80s, I remember putting together a workshop in San Germán, Puerto Rico, when I directed this Caribbean Study Centers with a somewhat provocative title, Haiti, a New Taiwan. Because at the time there was a lot of garment factories and textile industry that was they were growing very fast in Haiti, and the idea now is to recover a bit of that. Haiti has a number of advantages. One of them is close proximity to the United States, biggest market in the world, and it also has privileged access, pays no tariff for its goods. So that's something that is important. So it seems to me that there are a number of things on the table there that are very important to pursue and to actually implement. Now, that said, the other dimension that we emphasize in the book that is extremely important, Haiti faces not only very strong economic and social challenges, but also political challenges. Basically, what you have is a highly dysfunctional political system. I mean, the good thing is that there's some stability in the country. President Michel Martelly, who took office on 14 May, he is the first president in Haitian history who is elected and who takes office after a predecessor who actually completed his term in office, President René Préval. So that's a good sign. Stability is a much undervalued political commodity. I think it's very important. If you don't have stability, it's very difficult to do a number of other things. Now, that said, and this gives you an idea of the problems facing Haiti on the political front, it is only now, I think it was last week, that President Martelly actually managed to get a government in place, because Haiti has a system in which there's a president, but in the French tradition, there's also a prime minister. And the problem is that prime minister needs to be, it's nominated by the president, but needs to be approved by both chambers of parliament. Now, when you have a multi-party system in which it is unlikely that any one party will have a majority, what often happens is that the president belongs to one party, and the parties that have majority in both chambers of parliament are of a different stripe. Now, to get agreement on approving the president's nominee for prime minister is not easy.
Right.
So the first two nominees of President Martelly were actually rejected. So here we have a situation in which 4 or 5 months there is a country with all these challenges and all these difficulties without a proper government in place. But the good news is that Dr. Gary Canil was approved by both chambers of parliament last week. So finally, the government has a prime minister and will actually be able to move forward on a number of things which had been basically on hold until now.
Good that there's some forward motion on that particular file.
Yes.
We'll continue talking about the challenges Haiti faces with Jorge Heine. You're watching or listening to Inside the Issues, a CIGI online podcast. Look for us at cgonline.org, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Welcome back. The political story in Haiti seems more optimistic now from the perspective you just articulated. From another perspective, it's sort of deeply depressing because Haiti was a country, one of the first in the hemisphere to attain its formal independence from a colonial master. And it's taken a very, very long time to even approximate functioning liberal democracy.
Yes,
Many development economists would say that one of the key predictors of development success is actually having a functioning liberal democratic political system. But there are other challenges Haiti has that not all developing countries face. For example, very limited resource base, very mountainous, paucity of arable land, and by almost any standard, hugely overpopulated. So there are some things you can fix. You can fix a political system, in theory.
Sure.
But it's hard to fix things such as limitations on arable land, limited natural resource base, and overpopulation you can fix, but only over a very, very long time scale. So given the range of challenges Haiti faces, where do you put the money? Where do you invest the effort? Where's the biggest payoff in terms of fixing a problem per dollar invested?
Sure. Oh, that's an excellent question. Well, what you're saying, David, is so true. Let me give you an example. The port of Port-au-Prince is the most expensive in the Caribbean. Now, you would think that in a country with the per capita income that Haiti has, which is among the lowest in the Caribbean, with the amount of unemployment that exists, that would not be the case. Yet that is the case. It is an example of the dysfunctionalities of the political and also the economic system.
Why is it so expensive?
Well, it's been locked in with special contracts with trade unions, monopolies that control the trade and so on. And it's a very bad situation. Now, to go back to your question, it seems to me what is very important in terms of what to do. There, as I said earlier, there is of course the reconstruction effort that takes priority. You need to sort of get back to what you had before in terms of housing, so people not living in camps but have actual homes and a roof over the head and so on. I think a critical question is that of infrastructure. The roads in Haiti, if you want to decentralize, you always need to be able to get to places where there is economic activity, be it tourism, be it agriculture, be it industrial activity. And right now the roads are extremely bad. I remember once I was an election observer in the 1990 elections, being in a jeep of the OAS, traversing a river. There was no bridge. So the jeep sort of got into the water, and at some point the water started to go up, and I thought this was going to be the end of me. So that is the situation you have. So with these $10 billion, which is a significant amount of money for a country like Haiti, it seems to me that infrastructure is, once you get beyond sort of the reconstruction, infrastructure is an absolutely central element. The other thing is to identify certain poles. I'm personally especially fond of Cap Haitien, which is on the northern part of Haiti. A lot of history there. La Citadelle is there, some wonderful old colonial housing, and make that into a pole of sorts. I think it is very important. The Caribbean is a major tourist attraction. There are many cruise ships that travel around the Caribbean. Many of them do not stop in Haiti, and they stop in islands that have a lot less to offer than Haiti. Haiti doesn't have as many resources as it could, but it has some wonderful beaches. It has a very rich culture. People are trying to get away just from the culture of sun and sand. They want to see painters, they want to see history, and Haiti offers all that. So it seems to me that developing infrastructure is a very important part. I spoke earlier about the port. If you look at the map of the Caribbean, you will see that Haiti is at the very center. Come from the Panama Canal, sort of the island that you hit is Haiti. What is interesting is that the one business group, if you will, that has realized that and has developed that hub is the drug cartels. And they use Haiti as a sort of launching pad, cum hub, for bringing drugs they bring from Colombia or elsewhere into the United States. And that is a real problem.
I mean, not just because it's geographically central, but also because it's very badly policed, or it's corrupt, and it's easy to work around.
That's right.
Formal authorities.
So, the other thing that has happened, and this is also very tragic, Haitian agriculture. You're quite right to go out some of the environmental issues that are there. But there are some parts, for example, the Artibonite, which is very fertile, and it used to feed, in terms of rice, all the Haitian population. Now, unfortunately, in the 90s, in this mistaken attempt to impose the Washington consensus everywhere, they essentially dismantled whatever protection Haitian agriculture had. And nowadays, most rice in Haiti is imported straight from Miami. And the result has been that much of Haitian agriculture is in very bad shape. So it seems to me that is another aspect that I would put money in, that is rebuilding Haitian agriculture. And I will say this, the Haitian labor force and the people that made the Haitian garment and textile industry in the 70s and 80s so successful, they are very much there, and they are able to work at competitive wages, and given the privileged access to the United States that Haitian products have, it seems to me there's a lot that you can build on. And again, it seems to me what Paul Collier said in his study provides a very useful blueprint.
But there's a bit of a dilemma there, isn't there? I mean, if you open Haiti to globalization economically, you do expose domestic rice producers to cheaper competition. So it hurts that sector, but it helps the export sector in garments. One of the few growth areas, right?
Yes, that's true. So, I mean, again, these are, difficult choices that have to be made. But the World Economic Forum, although Haiti's product last year, because of the impact of the earthquake, fell by 8.5%. But the World Economic Forum recently released a study, and they say that, if a number of decisions are taken, Haiti's potential is to grow between 6 and 8% for the next 10 years. So, this is a respectable institution.
Yeah, if the baseline's low, it's possible.
Yeah, that's right. So I think, and the other thing I would like to say is that there is a window of opportunity here. There is a new president. It has a government. There is a new special representative of the Secretary General, Mariano Fernandez, former colleague of mine, former Foreign Minister of Chile. There is tremendous goodwill. The United States is very keen. I was in Washington during the summer, and all the signals I got from the State Department is that Secretary Clinton, of course, who has a very special relationship with Haiti, is very keen to help. Former President Bill Clinton, of course, is taking a leading role there. So there is Canada is very interested. Latin American countries are. So it seems to me there's a window of opportunity now. It will not be open forever. At some point it will close, but it is there.
Chat about the international angle in a moment when we come back.
Of course.
You're watching or listening to Inside the Issues, a CIGI online podcast. Look for us at cgonline.org, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Welcome back. Jorge, I'd like to speak a bit about the book's minor title, MINUSTAH and Beyond. MINUSTAH is one of those fabulous United Nations acronyms for the French, for the International Stabilization Mission in Haiti. The question arises, which international players and which international bodies are best positioned to help fix Haiti? MINUSTAH, of course, is a United Nations operation. You mentioned you were in Haiti as part of an OAS, electoral observer mission. In the aftermath of the earthquake, we noticed that a number of regional players that don't normally take prominent leads played a very central role in helping Haiti recover in the immediate response. Can you speak a bit about the constellation of other countries and international institutions and which ones are best suited to do what?
Of course, sure. No, it seems to me it is important to keep in mind that having the United Nations involved in Haiti means there is a global mandate to address Haiti's challenges. And it seems to me that MINUSTAH and the United Nations provide a very good umbrella for a variety of other entities to participate. I mentioned earlier that this is the first UN peacekeeping operation with the majority of Latin American troops and officers, and that is significant. Brazil is taking a lead role, but so have Chile and Argentina, and there are a number of other countries, Guatemala, Peru, Uruguay, Paraguay, even Bolivia, that are participating in this. Now, Brazil has been particularly proactive, and it seems to me what is important to understand is that for Latin American countries who have not had, for example, such a prominent role in UN peacekeeping operations in Africa. I mean, if they don't do it in Haiti, where else would they do it? I mean, this is obviously a hemispheric issue, so it's important for them to to participate. So it seems to me that these various dimensions, the global dimensions provided by the UN, the regional dimension that is provided by the troops from the Latin American countries, and the specific interests of countries like the United States, like Canada, like France, more traditional powers that have had a long-standing interest in Haiti, complement each other well. As it happens, and people have different views whether this is a good or a bad thing, but by and large, these latter countries have been playing a relatively minor role in UN peacekeeping operations in terms of providing actual troops and providing boots on the ground. They have been otherwise engaged. So it is extremely important for the Latin American countries to have done this. And I think there's a convergence of interest there, and how North American countries like the United States and Canada work together with South American and Central American countries in addressing this common question. Now, an issue that has arisen is whether, and MINUSTA has been there now for 7 years now, whether it's about time to start winding down the operations. And I think it is legitimate to set some sort of horizon, some sort of exit strategy. This obviously cannot go on forever. My own view is something like 5 years would be a good thing. The other thing that has come up is the question of whether, in addition to stabilizing the country, which I would argue very strongly MINUSTA has succeeded in doing, for the reasons I mentioned earlier, whether it should have a development component. Now, that is not in the mandate given by the Security Council to MINUSTA. So that is another endeavor. But it seems to me this is something that we ought to look at, because right now I would argue that the country has been stabilized. The real challenge is to push for development and for the sort of economic growth that the country needs.
Does MINUSTA have any comparative advantage in development specifically?
Well, not really, but it is possible to imagine some different sort of mandate from the United Nations that would keep the MINUSTA presence perhaps in a reduced capacity and put a greater emphasis on economic development. My own view, there are some people that say all troops should be withdrawn and the money that is spent on them should be spent on development. Well, that is not the way the world works. It's not the way the United Nations works. Right. But it seems to me what I would argue is you need, on the one hand, some military presence from the UN, and you need a greater emphasis on the development issues.
One reason Canada is engaged and involved in Haiti is because it's a francophone country, and we are too,
sure,
in part.
Of course.
Where's the rest of the francophone world?
Well, France, of course, has had a long-standing and very, this is the former colonial power, and the President Nicolas Sarkozy visited Haiti after the earthquake, which gives you an idea of it. In so doing, became the first French president to visit Haiti, believe it or not. So France has also been very active and has had a very strong presence. So again, to go back to the issue of global governance, what I find fascinating and what led me to put this book together is how you have in one small country in the Caribbean, you have all these various international forces gathering together and working hand in hand to help lift the country from its difficulties.
Well, let's hope that this cooperation pays off.
That's right.
And that over time, Haiti is indeed fixed.
That's right.
Thank you once again, Jorge, for coming in and sharing your insight. Fascinating. And of course, I hope the book does, in fact, garner the attention it clearly deserves.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And we will see you again here, I hope.
Yes, of course.
And we will see our audience again, I hope, next week for another episode of Inside the Issues, a CIGI Online podcast. Look for us at cgonline.org, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube.